All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Armchair Armdrager podcast. This is episode number 12, and like always, I'm your host, Ben Hersick. Always, before I jump right into it, always the Twitter mentions. I'm on Twitter at ChurroSolider. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. I write articles now semi-regularly for All Things Combat, which is a website that covers professional wrestling, boxing, and MMA. We are still in the middle of our SummerSlam review series. I am done with mine, so I'm trying to think of article ideas. I have 2 in the works right now. 3 when they announce World Tag League. Maybe 4 when they announce Junior Tag League too. I don't know yet. Still undecided on that. And also a new one. I am the current sports editor at the Cauldron newspaper at Cleveland State. It is a student-run newspaper where we write articles like a normal newspaper. I will be tweeting those out as the semester gets started. I still have about roughly a month. I think it's the first day is the 26th, off the top of my head, of August. So that will be the 3rd part of my senior year. I am going for 4 parts due to a dumb reason. I switched majors relatively late. So it is what it is. I've got 2 semesters left of college, and then I am done, as far as I think. I still don't know about grad school. It's a personal thing. I got to figure all that out. I'm not going to bore you with the details. But when we start getting back to when the semester starts and we start getting articles up bi-weekly, I will have those articles on my Twitter, and I will be more than willing to talk about them if anyone's interested about it. I had one go up this day. I'm doing this a little weird, and I'll explain why in a minute. I had one go up today about how the men's basketball staff at Cleveland State was fired in the summer, which is really weird. And now that I think about it, and I've talked about it with some of my close friends who graduated from Cleveland State, it doesn't add up. And I can talk more about that if anyone's interested about it on Twitter. Just at me, and we'll have a whole conversation about it in 240 characters or less. So yeah. And that's all that. That's all the normal stuff out of the way. Normally we'd have a G1 catch-up. I'm still currently catching up on it. The story looks somewhat interesting. I guess I can go through it really quick. But the reason I also said this is a little bit of a weird one for me, I'm recording this currently on Wednesday. Because Thursday, when I usually record these, I have work from 10 to 7:30. So I'm going to be either tired as hell to record in the morning or sleepy as hell when I get off of work. And I don't want to record Friday. I have to record like midnight to get it up by the time everybody's waking up so everybody can listen to it. So that's the reason it's on so late. It's so weird for me today, so I'm all over the place. When am I not, though? So it's one of my terms. See, the podcast will still be coming out on Friday. I'm very excited for that. It will still come out on Fridays during the semester. I plan to record on Wednesdays then. No, I'll record on Thursdays then. I have to figure this all out. I've got a lot going on in my head right now that I have to figure all out. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it and see where it goes from there. But real quick G1 recap, I guess. They have the gimmick going where nobody's gone from 0-3 to start the tournament to win the whole thing. Right now, I'm up to Zack Sabre Jr. doing that. He won his first match against Fale on Sunday. And it looks like his story is going to be him trying to rattle off however many straight. And I think he could. He could go into the final night, win his last match, and then have to wait till Ibushi Okada to see who's going to win the block. Like, if Okada wins, then Sabre can't win the block. Well, no, Sabre still has Ibushi. So who knows? We'll see what Sabre's whole thing is. But it seems like somebody's story, either his or Jay White, is going to be going from 0-3 to winning the block, possibly. And I would prefer it to be Sabre because there would be more story there because it's Sabre getting to the finals somehow, some way, versus Naito, possibly. I still think Naito's winning B block. I still haven't seen his match with Ishii on night 8, but I still have my pick as Naito. I can see the story being Saber's never lost to Naito. In the G1, Saber has never lost to Naito, and Saber has the edge. Saber caused Naito a trip to the finals last year, and Naito's whole thing is him being the both IWGP champion and IWGP Intercontinental champion. So we'll see how that kind of works. I'm curious about it. It's going to be interesting to see. I know White on night 8 faced Jeff Cobb, which should be a win off the top of my head, I think. I'm not sold on Jeff Cobb in this tournament. He's a great wrestler, don't get me wrong, but it just hasn't looked right. Something's looked weirdly off about everything. The whole redemption story for Goto is still going. He's looked amazing in this tournament. I'm excited to see where he goes from this. I wouldn't be surprised. I was thinking about this because I'm starting to kind of put together what I think World Tag League could look like. I put Goto with Yoshihashi because they had a good year 2 years ago. I think they were the runner-up in one of the blocks to Evil and Sonata, point-wise. And I think they would be a good team for Chaos because of the fact that they need a tag team. They have Ishii and Yano, but Ishii's busy with the open weight division, and Yano's Yano. So Goto and Yoshihashi would make sense. It could go Yoshihashi and Mikey Nichols, which I would be perfectly fine with. Nichols was in The Mighty Don't Kneel, or TM61 if people knew him from NXT. He is the former Nick Miller, because Shane Thorne is still there. So yeah, he is the former Nick Miller. And he's looked really good since coming to New Japan. He had a great match with Okada in the the New Japan Cup. Him and Juice Robinson had a chance at the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles. So him and Yoshihashi could be a team. I could see Goto teaming with Kenta because of the Shibata connection, which would be a very interesting team and be a very good add to the tag team division. Kenta's got to start somewhere. Start the heavyweight tag leagues, or tag ranks, and go from there. Who else has been really interesting? Lance Archer is one that I have been really intrigued about. Going into this tournament, we had no expectations. Nobody knew what to expect. Nobody was excited for it. Archer's looked really good in his first 4. At first, you think, oh, okay, it's just Will Ospreay carrying him to a good match. He had a good match with Fale, and Fale's not known for carrying guys to good matches. He had a good match with... Who else has Archer faced? He faced Tanahashi. Who was his 4th? Who the hell was his 4th? I think I have it written down somewhere over here. And he had a match with Kenta. So 3 guys you could say kind of carried him to a good match. You would think, but him against Fale being good. Archer has hit something, and it's working. I'm just not a fan of the finisher. It's just a claw. I prefer it was like a choke. His choke slam looks really good. It could be his finisher. It would make a lot more sense to me. Who else? I'm very curious who's going to be the first person to beat Moxley in New Japan. Because Moxley's not winning the G1. There's no way in how that's happening. I think it's going to be either Naito or Jay White. Hiroki Goto's a good shout, possibly. I know he's losing. I'm very confident he's losing to Juice Robinson on the final night. He's going to be in contention for the block win. Juice is going to knock him out, and that can set up that whole thing. I still want to see Moxley versus what's his face, Minoru Suzuki. Possibly Wrestle Kingdom, possibly King of Pro Wrestling. It's not going to be Destruction. Destruction, I would rather see Moxley versus Goto, probably. But we'll cross those bridges when we get there, and we'll see what happens. Overall, the G1's still been very enjoyable. I've been enjoying it. It's fun to watch. And it's one of my favorite tournaments, maybe even my favorite tournament all year. It's that and Best of Super Juniors, like really tied for me. Super Strong Style's up there also. 16 Carats in there. Bola, Battle of Los Angeles is in there. I would be more excited for World Tag League if the tag teams were better in New Japan. Well, just the division itself. And there's so many other tournaments that I really need to see that I'm very excited for. But I need to find ways to see them. What else was going on? The announcement came out today for All Elite Wrestling's first television show and its weekly episodic run. It's going to be October 2nd, live from the Capital One Arena, I believe it's called, in Washington, D.C. And it's got the 8 to 10 time, which, and the rumor going around is NXT is going to move to Fox Sports 1 when SmackDown's deal with Fox starts. And it's going to be going up against NXT will go up against AEW on Wednesdays for an hour. So I'm curious if they move NXT to 2 hours. But the thing is, with NXT, you can just watch the replay on the network. So why watch it live? That's my whole thing. I just don't get it, to me. And I don't mind companies competing. I enjoy it. I find it fun. But no matter what, these two companies are going to stick around forever. And I'll be totally fine with it. I enjoy wrestling. I can, at some point, get a DVR and record it. I'm just too lazy to get one. I'm more intrigued by all wrestling because other than the big names, it's not much. Yeah, like Jimmy Havoc. All us indie fans have their favorites on that show. Like Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, MJF. But other than the big names, who's really there? There's no reason to buy it or to even buy into All Elite Wrestling to me outside of the Elite, Chris Jericho, and you can throw the Lucha Bros in there too. Outside of those, 2, 3, 4, 5. Outside of those 8, there's no real reason for me to be invested yet. I'm not saying I'm not going to be invested. I'm more curious as to what's going to be the reason and the driving force behind AEW besides just the big names. Are they going to have an established mid-card division? Are they going to have an interesting main event scene? What's the tag scene going to look like? And what's the women's division going to look like? That's my biggest concern. Especially the tag in the women's division. The Young Bucks, even in the promo video from TNT themselves, said, we want to have the best tag division in the world. Right now, it's nobody. There's no real big tag division. And I'm not sold on the All Elite Wrestling tag division just yet. Because outside of Lucha Bros and outside of Young Bucks, the only name that comes to my mind that I know of is Angelico and Jack Evans, and that's because I'm a huge fan of Angelico. I never knew who Jack Evans was until researching him for my Meet the AEW roster article. I'm not invested in it yet, and I want to be invested. I'm just more curious as to why should I invest. It's just like years and years we've had one company ruling the roost in WWE. TNA had a shot, they blew it. I'm curious if All Elite Wrestling blows it too. Because like TNT's a decent draw too. It's not like, ABC or NBC or CBS. But TNT is a really good draw, at least for the States. And Fox is a really good draw. USA is a decent draw. So there's decent draws everywhere for wrestling. I'm just curious, who watches more regularly? Who watches... What channel, I guess I'm asking, gets the most ratings? Is it USA or is it TNT? And I would think TNT off the top of my head. I'm like looking at the ratings and everything now, and they haven't even had their first television show yet. I know Raw did like a 3-point something rating wise, which is really good for them, especially recently. So I figured now, let me get into the whole meat and potatoes of this episode. It's something that I like really care about and I'm really passionate about. Give WWE women a chance. This is going to be the majority of this episode, so if you're not interested in the women's division, I understand if you click off, but this is something that's important to me. When I first started watching wrestling, it was 2007, 2008-ish, I want to say. It was the year of WrestleMania 24. 2000... Oh, God. What year did Cena win the Rumble? 2008? 2008. 2008. It was 2008. And I saw women's wrestling for the first time when it was like my third or fourth show I watched. So it was like quick segments and it was not much. And I'm like watching it, comparing it to the men's divisions at the time, and I'm like, why aren't they getting time? And then as I got older, I learned, because a lot of them aren't super duper talented. Because back then there wasn't a lot of super duper talented women. Yeah, Michelle McCool was really talented, and so was Layla to an extent. Mickey James was really talented. Melina was really great. I'm probably forgetting like 17 of them. I'm trying to remember them all now. No, Kelly wasn't that good. Candice Michelle was okay. God, who am I forgetting from that time period? I know Lita and Trish were already gone. I know Miss Jazz and Molly Holly and Victoria was pretty good. God, I'm trying to remember them all now. But there was some good talent in that pool. Beth Phoenix, I almost forgot Beth. There was great talent in that pool, but they weren't getting enough time to me. They weren't being able to show what they could do. And they never really got that opportunity. Yeah, once in a while they'd have a longer match, but it wouldn't be like 3 segments like sometimes the men's matches are. So when I was younger, I'm like, why aren't they getting a chance? I took a break from wrestling after CM Punk walked out, and shortly after AJ Lee followed. I remember AJ Lee and Caitlyn and Paige putting on really good matches. So at that point, I was excited for it. It's just I needed time off, I guess, or like a break or whatever the right word would be for it. And I came back because of Omega versus Okada. I've said this multiple times. Because of their first match at Wrestle Kingdom 12, and then the rematch at Dominion. After the rematch at Dominion, I started to watch more and more wrestling. And this is how I got to sitting here today. So, and at that point, I had missed the rise of Sasha Banks, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Bayley, along with a whole bunch of others. And now, that was after the Give Divas a Chance movement. That trended online for 3 days. And they got that chance. They finally got a chance. They were showing off just how well they could do. And they're improving and getting better and better and better. I would argue that some nights, women's matches were the better points of the show compared to the men's matches. And the men were main eventing the shows regularly. Once in a while, a women's segment would end the show. Yeah, not very often, though. And then we got to Hell in a Cell, where Charlotte and Sasha Banks went one-on-one in the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match. And it continued to grow from there. We've had steel cage matches, we've had TLC matches, we've had ladder matches, first ever women's Money in the Bank, first ever women's Elimination Chamber, first ever women's Royal Rumble, the women having a battle royal at WrestleMania so they can get TV time or screen time on a WrestleMania show. You're getting all of these talented women finally getting a chance to show what they can do. And it's been amazing to watch. Look at the NXT women's division. It is thriving. Yeah, it's annoying Shayna Baszler is still champion for a little over a year at this point. Like, combined over all her 2 reigns. Yeah, it's annoying that she's champ, but you have the likes of Io Shirai, Candice LeRae, Casey Catanzaro, Mia Yim. You have all these talented women. Bianca Belair, Xia Li has looked really good. You're getting all these women, and they're improving from day to day and getting better and better. And you see it. You see all this hard work and dedication they're putting in. And they're not just doing it because they know that they're good. They're doing it because they now know they're good, and people will pay attention to them. Because of the likes of Beth Phoenix, Natalya Neihard, you have all these women who have paved the way, and now they're getting a chance to show what they can do. And these past few weeks, it's pretty much all gone down the drain. Nothing's been working. Nothing's been interesting. To me, I don't know how what I classify myself as for a wrestling fan. I enjoy good matches. I enjoy good storytelling. You don't get good storytelling on a weekly basis from WWE. You get great storytelling over time from companies like New Japan. And you have some decent storytelling over time from WWE, too, to be fair. The best example I can think of recently is the Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon one has been going on for a long time. But also the Kofi Kingston-Randy Orton one. That one's been a 10-year stretch. I'm not just saying that because I called that match happening at SummerSlam. But I look at it, these women, they need a shot. It's all they need. They've shown how well they can do. There's a reason Evolution did as good as it did. Evolution, I thought, was a great show from start to almost finish. Nikki Bella and Ronda Rousey dropped the ball. I have said from day one, I'm not a Bella fan. I don't enjoy the Bellas. And I've vehemently said over and over and over and over and over, we don't need Ronda Rousey in the WWE. She's a big name. She's a big draw, yes. She was not ready. She needed more time to develop, in my opinion. And I know you need her for WrestleMania, but it's like you don't need her for everything. You don't need her to job Ruby Riott out in 30 seconds. Ruby Riott is a very talented women's wrestler, a multi-time champion on the independent scene, and she gets jobbed out in 30 seconds. Yeah, the rematch on Raw was like 16 minutes and a lot better, but 30 seconds on a pay-per-view? Are you serious? It's annoying. And we all knew Ronda was going to win, but Jesus Christ. And I'm not saying this guy, I'm a Ruby fan. I would have said the same if it was Sarah Logan, Liv Morgan, Mickie James, Asuka, Bayley, Ember Moon, anybody. Dana Brooke even. It's frustrating because we know how talented these women are. It's frustrating. But the problem isn't just WWE. It's a lot of the wrestling world. I shouldn't say a lot of the wrestling world, because a lot of the women's divisions are treated very well. The first two that come to my head are Progress, which has been a fantastic women's division recently, and Impact. Where, yeah, Taya Valkyrie is not the best women's champion. She's not bad. She's not great. She's like right in the middle. But she's a really good heel champion. And my whole thing is, you want to boo her because you want to see her lose, which is nice to see. And Impact has a really solid women's division. It's small, yes. You have the first four that came to my head were Taya Valkyrie, Jordynne Grace, Kiera Hogan, and Rosemary. I know they have Jessica Havoc now. They have somebody else too. I think they have like 6. And for a smaller company, that's not bad. That's really good. And then you have companies like Stardom and Pro Wrestling Eve, where it focuses solely on women's wrestling. And they are phenomenal. Stardom has been killing it for years. Shimmer has been killing it for years too, on the U.S. side. I believe I know they're in Illinois. I don't remember what exact city, but I know they're in Illinois. And you just see all these talented women getting chance after chance after chance there. Where do you think Toni Storm got her big break? Yes, the UK scene, but also Stardom. So many people know Stardom and watch Stardom. I watch like as much as I can, and I enjoy all of it. It's really good. Now, why does it work over there, but it doesn't work over in the States? A, you have a very deep roster, and I would argue it's too deep in the WWE. And that's a big point. You have so much talent. Like, look, now you're getting to see Apollo Crews on TV. You're getting to see Shinsuke Nakamura again. You're getting to see Ali weekly on TV. We saw Buddy Murphy for the first time in God knows how long, 2 weeks ago, and he wasn't even on the show this week. We saw, who else have we seen? We saw Liv Morgan again. We saw Charlotte Flair for the first time in a little while. I know that one's for personal reasons, but still, we saw Charlotte Flair again. We've seen Andrade recently. We've seen, who has been on the Raw side that we've seen a lot recently? Gallows and Anderson, AJ Styles. Baron Corbin wasn't on at all last week from what I can remember. I fell asleep in the first hour, but from what I remember hearing, there was no Baron Corbin sighting. We got to see Natalya was on TV. Naomi was on TV. Dana Brooke's been on TV recently. You're getting to see all these talented wrestlers finally getting a chance to show just how damn good they are. If you give them the time, every single member of the WWE roster could be a champion. And they should be a champion at some point in their career. I don't want to see another, Chuck Palumbo or Jamie Noble go their whole career almost without a title. I know Chuck Palumbo was a tag team champion, but he was never a singles champion. I thought he was really good. Same with Jamie Noble. Noble might have been a cruiserweight champion. Off the top of my head, I don't remember. But Jamie Noble was good. He was good. So was Chuck Palumbo. You have these really talented wrestlers. Just give them time. And especially in the women's division. Right now, your focus is Bayley and Becky Lynch. Which, yeah, I totally get that. I understand that. You have two very talented women as champions. But why is Alexa Bliss challenging for a title she doesn't technically have a right to challenge for? Why is Lacey Evans getting 3 straight shots when she's shown she's not ready yet? It makes no sense to me. And I look at it, you have, like Natalya, you had Natalya, Naomi, Nikki Cross herself. You have, trying to remember the entire Raw division on top of my head. Sasha Banks could have been a better challenger. God, who else is there? So here's the thing, there's so many names I can't remember them all. Dana Brooke would have been nice to see. Yeah, it wouldn't have been a long match, but you could finally let Dana Brooke show what she can do. Sarah Logan would have been a great shout. And I know you can't give it to Ruby Riott right now because of her double rotator cuff surgery, but Ruby Riott should get a decent chance at a women's championship. Again, like I'm saying this because I'm a big fan of Ruby Riott, but Ruby is such a talent in the ring. Just give her an opportunity. Don't give her a 7-second freaking match against Ronda Rousey. Give her a decent length match against Becky Lynch. And now I look at it, the issue to me also isn't the talent's not there on the Raw side. Talent's there. Problem is, nobody has a character outside of Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch. Natalya is just a solid work pair of hands that everybody knows, partly because of her last name, I think. I feel like if she wasn't a Neidhart, and I hate saying this because I know there's so much more than a last name in wrestling, but part of me feels like if she wasn't a Neidhart, I can't say the last name right ever. If she wasn't related to Jim Neidhart, then she might not have been given certain chances she had gotten. I think she's a very, very talented women's wrestler. She's a very talented wrestler, period. But part of me, and I hate this because it's Vince McMahon that makes me think like this. She has the last name, which people know, so people know of her, and it's just that she didn't have that. I don't think she'd be given the opportunity she's gotten over her career. And I hate saying that. I hate it so much, but it feels right because of Vince McMahon. We know Vince McMahon's type. Blonde, big boobs. That's it. That's all he looks for in a women's wrestler. He doesn't care if they're talented. He doesn't care if they're great in the ring. He doesn't care if they can tell a story. He doesn't care about any of that. Do they look good? Give them a title. I am so happy somebody convinced them not to put a title on Lacey Evans. I am so happy. Because it would have ruined Becky Lynch's whole story. Having her lose a SmackDown Women's title ruined her whole story. I still think it would have been funny if Brock Lesnar and Bayley cashed in at the same time. That would have been freaking hilarious. And I would have loved it. But thankfully it didn't happen. Because people would have booed Bayley out of the freaking building. I think on Raw, who do we have? We have Crazy Chick in Nikki Cross. We have Glowy Chick in Naomi. Wolf Girl and Sarah Logan. Injured Ruby Riott. Coffee Drinker Alexa Bliss. Ow. Hit myself with my nail. Okay, I'm going to pull up the roster really quick. This shouldn't take that long. Because I'm trying to remember who I have and haven't said. WWE. This is the WWE personnel. Raw. Alicia Fox is still listed as under there. We have woman that's getting a little bit better from what I've seen in Dana Brooke. I haven't seen a lot of her stuff recently, but I keep hearing she's getting better and better. Nia Jax still out with knee surgery. Ronda Rousey gone. Who cares? Ruby Riott injured. Sarah Logan, Sasha Banks, and Tamina. And so the Raw Women's Division needs help. Outside of Sasha Banks, I can't really see anybody challenging or even threatening Becky Lynch for the title. I don't think Ronda's coming back anytime soon. God knows I don't want her back anytime soon. Natalya it doesn't feel right, to me at least. It sounds like it's going to be Becky for a long time on top. But it makes sense because she's the only one with a real character. She's the man. She's better than you. It doesn't matter if she's better than you in the ring, on the microphone, on social media. She just knows she's better. And that's what's important. She has that character aspect about it. Whereas others, you see like bits and pieces. Like, yeah, Nikki Cross is a really interesting character at the moment. Alexa Bliss can have an interesting character. Naomi could do something more important than just have light up stuff. And I'm saying this because I care about women's wrestling. I want to see it thrive and succeed and be enjoyable. I don't want to see 7-second matches. I don't want to see short matches. I want to see matches last 1-2 segments, maybe more. I want to see more women's matches close out shows. And it's annoying because now we're not having an evolution this year, it seems, which is freaking pissing me off. I'm trying to sound polite. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to not swear. It's really hard when it comes to this with me because I care a lot about women's wrestling. And not seeing it be cared about annoys me. I want to see evolution too. I want to see that. And I still say to this day that Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair should have main evented Evolution. It would have made so much more sense. You would have had two talented women's wrestlers who know how to wrestle in high-stakes situations. Not a woman who has never been in a main event in her life, in Nikki Bella, and a woman who just came into the sport not even a year ago, in Ronda Rousey, main eventing the first ever all-women's pay-per-view. It would have made so much more sense. And you look at the Raw side, yes, there's talent there. There's abundance of talent. They just don't know how to use it. And I know this is overstated. I think Hunter could fix it. I think Heyman can fix it. And that's why I'm excited to see Heyman in charge on Raw. Bischoff on SmackDown, I don't know if there really needs to be a lot of fixing for the SmackDown Women's Division. You just need to give him more time, is what it is. Because you look at the Raw Women's Division compared to the SmackDown Women's Division. The SmackDown Women's Division, you have Asuka, Bayley, Billie Kay, Carmella, Charlotte Flair, Ember Moon, Kairi Sane, Lana. Okay, maybe Lana. Liv Morgan, Mandy Rose, Mickie James, Peyton Royce, Sonya Deville, Zelina Vega. You have 14. You have 14 talented women. You have Asuka, who's a former women's champion on both NXT and the main roster. Bayley, who's a former women's champion and the current SmackDown Women's Champion on the main roster and in NXT. You have Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, who are maybe the most entertaining tag team WWE has right now next to the Street Profits. You have Charlotte Flair, who just speaks for herself. Her name's Flair. She's a freaking Flair. You have Carmella, who's a former champion and has improved dramatically. She might be the most improved wrestler from summer of last year to now. She has improved amazingly over the past 12 months. I want to see her get another run. I'm very excited for her. You have Ember Moon, a former women's champion in NXT, who has been killing it for years in the independent scene, finally made the jump to WWE, and now has just been sitting there, partly because of injury. I think she had 2 injuries that sidelined her. One was like just after her main roster debut, and one was at the Royal Rumble. And now she's back, and she's got a women's championship match at SummerSlam. Please, to God, let that match get 20 minutes. The story Bayley and Ember Moon could tell. It could be so good. Just give them time. Please. You have Kairi Sane, a former women's champion in NXT, and somebody from Stardom who killed it for years over there. Liv Morgan, who is a really underrated wrestler, I think. Is she the best? No. Is she the worst? No, she's far from the worst. She's really good, and I really enjoy her. And I want to see what she can do. And I feel like we finally will, at some point here soon. Because after her match with Charlotte, she said something along the lines of, Charlotte was right, things need to change or something. We could see a new Liv Morgan, like, video packages or something coming here soon. Which I'd be very excited for. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville are both really talented women's wrestlers. It sucks that Mickie James is injured right now. And Mickie is another point I want to circle back to at some point here soon. And with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, yeah, to me it feels like they're coming along to a breakup angle somewhat. So there is that aspect of it, but also it feels like now they're going to start pushing the fact that, and I don't want this to be the case. I don't think it's going to be the case. So I'm not even going to say it. But it's the fact about one of the wrestlers, and I think some people kind of know it. I don't want it to be, because I think they're both very talented wrestlers, and I want them to focus on the in-ring aspect rather than the out-of-ring aspect. Focus on how good they are, not about their personal lives. Focus on how good they are, because they are both great. Can they get better? Yes. Do I still think they were called up a little too early? A little bit. I could see them still doing a lot in NXT. I don't know why they were called up so quickly. Probably because they just needed somebody up there, and they're like, those two look good. I'll put them up there. And they did. And they've been hit with so many hurdle after hurdle after hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. There's so many hurdles. They debuted amazingly. Paige had to retire. They had nothing to do. Floundered around on Raw for a little while. Moved to SmackDown. Looked really good in tag team action. Finally got a chance in the Elimination Chamber. Showed how good they were. Stood toe-to-toe with Sasha and Bayley. 2 of the 4 horsewomen of WWE. And we're so close to winning the women's tag team titles. Being the first ever women's tag team champions. If that doesn't show you how good they are, that even when they were doing nothing on Raw, they were still really entertaining, and moving to SmackDown and still being entertaining, that shows how good they can be in their future in the WWE. And Zelina Vega, can we please let Zelina Vega wrestle more? And I know it would be tough because she's on a roster with all these talented wrestlers. It would be tough for her to shine. If they could get like a tag team partner for her. Like somebody to team with. Like I'm looking at it. Maybe Liv Morgan? That could be an interesting team. Maybe Carmella wouldn't work because they were just arguing back and forth a while ago with Andrade and R-Truth involved in it. But the women's division is so talented right now. They have so much talent. They just don't know how to use it. And it looks like we're going to get... Right now it's penciled in to be Natalya versus Becky Lynch. I still see a scenario where Sasha Banks comes back and takes Natalya's spot. We're getting Bayley versus Ember Moon for the SmackDown Women's title at SummerSlam. And rumors are saying it's Trish Stratus maybe coming out of retirement for a match with Charlotte Flair. It's not often you see a women's non-title match on a pay-per-view. That would be really interesting to me. And I would be very excited for it. So, that's the WWE aspect of it. There's so much now. On the NXT side is a lot easier, so I don't even need to talk about it because they get plenty of time. They get plenty of opportunities to show how good they are. I think tonight is... Recently they had Xia Li versus Bianca Belair, which is a pretty good match for NXT TV. So there is that. NXT's in a lot better shape, partly because of Triple H. So I don't feel a need to talk about that. But there is a need for it elsewhere around the world. In the world of professional wrestling, women haven't been treated anywhere near as equally as men. They've not been given as much time, and everybody knows this. And one of the things I want to see in AEW so bad is focus on the women's division. Give them plenty of time, give them plenty of opportunities, give them plenty of chances to show how good they are. And it looks like they could have a decent women's division. You have, and I'm going to try and remember all the names. You have Awesome Kong, who's back now. Possibly Aja Kong. I don't know how long she has left. She's been wrestling for quite a while. She was in WWE when it was still WWF. I want to say it was like the 80s she was in there. So she's been around for quite a while. So you don't know how much she has left in the tank. I would love to see her go for another 20 years, but realistically, who knows when that can happen. You have Britt Baker. You have Bea Priestley. Allie. You have... Oh God, what's her name? Kylie Rae. And I want to say Brandy Rose, but she's not a very talented wrestler. I feel at least, and I feel like it's a consensus that a lot of people come to. And it's not a jab against her. She's just in a super talented, in a super talented women's division. You don't have plenty of room. You don't have enough room for her there. I'm trying to pull up the roster really quick so I don't look stupid. Female wrestlers. Allie, Colin, Priestley, Brandy Rose, Baker. You have the... Oh, they gave a spot to Hikaru Shida. Oh yeah, there's Leva Bates still. There's Nyla Rose. Riho has a spot. Sadie Gibbs has a spot. I'm very excited to see Sadie Gibbs. You have Penelope Ford. You have plenty of talent there. You have a lot of talent in that division. Just give them time. And I feel like that's where AEW will see what's going on. Because, and it's weird saying this, Tony Khan seems like a very interesting businessman. Yes, he focuses on business, but also he's a fan first. He's a fan first and foremost of professional wrestling. He knows what he wants to see. And yeah, you have the two people who I think are going to be the focal point of this division, Britt Baker and B. Priestley, with also Hikaru Shida, Ali, and Kylie Ray kind of like being like the seconds, essentially. Like the people who are like super close to the main event scene but aren't there just yet. Kind of like the first example that came to my mind was Ryback in WWE. Kind of like those type of guys or girls in this situation. I think I have more faith in All Elite Wrestling to handle them correctly. But just knowing the history of how women's wrestling has been treated, I'm always going to be nervous about it. And I think it could be really good. It could be. There's plenty of talent there. There's plenty of opportunities to show how well everyone can do. And in general, I'm excited for it. I just want them to give them more time. Because, I'm trying to remember. At All In, they were on the main card. They had a women's match, I believe. Well, let's just go through the whole freaking backlog of AEW shows. Because there has been like 3. Or 4. Let's see here. Just go back. Events. Oh, they don't even count All In. Let's look at Double or Nothing. Yeah, Double or Nothing, it was on the main card, if I remember right. They had... Yeah, it was Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, Kylie Ray, and Awesome Kong. On the main show, you had at Fyter Fest... You had Riho defeating Yuka Sakazaki and Nyla Rose. And at Fight for the Fallen, you had... Pulling it up. You had Brandy Rose and Allie. So, like, they're getting on the main show, which is important. And they've also had matches on the pre-show, too. So, I look at it, it'll be... I'm more skeptical about it. And I'm skeptical and optimistic at the same time. Partly because we don't know what we're going to get for a weekly show yet. We know it's coming in October. We don't know what it's going to be, though. We could still see a whole lot of growth from the division. We could see a couple more names added. We could see it go in multiple different directions that I'm very curious and excited about. But it could also go the opposite way. We could see stuff that doesn't work, stuff that doesn't fly, stuff that doesn't stick. And they just scrap a whole bunch from it. Which I don't want to see. But it could happen. And then we have the Ring of Honor division. They have women's wrestling, yes, but it's not been anywhere near a focal point. You have wrestlers like Kelly Klein. They just got Angelina Jolie. Angelina Love, Velvet Sky. God, who else was there? They've had certain... They have Sumi Sakai. They have... God, why am I blanking on everybody? The other... One Japanese women's wrestler, I don't remember her name, but I'm a fan of. They have the talent there, they just don't focus on it at all. It's all been men's wrestling. The women have had time, but not a lot. And it's been lacking from Ring of Honor for 15 years, and now they finally have a championship. They debuted it last year, WrestleMania weekend. And the match last WrestleMania weekend compared to this recent WrestleMania weekend was 10 times better. This is something Ring of Honor needs to figure out. And here's one that I want to see changed, but I understand it not being changed. And that's New Japan. So New Japan, it's a weird situation in Japan. So in Japan, period, in just Japanese wrestling, it's been tradition that men are in one promotion and women are in another. So like you have New Japan and you have Stardom. You have All Japan / Pro Wrestling Noah, because those two are constantly fighting for in Dragon Gate. So those three are kind of like fighting for who's second, who's third, and who's fourth. And you have Sendai Girls. You have, oh god, there's like two other ones that I can't remember right now. God, what are their names? Oh well, you have a bunch of like men's promotions, and you also have a bunch of women's promotions. What I want to see, and I know New Japan has like working relationships with certain companies. They have it with Ring of Honor, they have it with Rev Pro, and they have it with CMLL. Make a women's wrestling promotion relationship with Stardom, with Sendai, with some women's division over there, and start to feature women's wrestling on New Japan cards. Break tradition, break the mold, be different. That's what I want to see. You have talented men's wrestlers, yes. And with moving Wrestle Kingdom to 2 nights, now Wrestle Kingdom is the 4th and the 5th. So you need to fill out that 4th card. Because I think the 4th wouldn't be the big show. The 5th would be the big show. I think it's the 4th and the 5th. WRESTLE Kingdom 14. Yeah, it's going to be the 4th and the 5th. I think the 4th will be all these different matches, and probably Jushin Liger's final match, which will probably be against Minoru Suzuki, which I would like to see. And then the 5th will be the winner of the G1 Climax getting his title shot. You'll see the Intercontinental title, US title, all those titles defended on that show. So the 2nd could be like a lot of the working relationship things. You could see Ring of Honor championship matches. You could see CMLL championship matches, Rev Pro championship matches. Have like the first night be like a showcase night for the other working relationship promotions. And you could feature the women's divisions there. You could have the Stardom championship matches. You could have some Stardom championship matches there. You could have some Stardom matches in general there. And it could be a very prosperous relationship. I think it could work. And this is what I wanted to circle back to with the Mickie James story, or the Mickie James point, that women don't have a lot of time compared to men. I think a woman's career is a lot shorter than a men's career on average in pro wrestling. And part of that also deals with somebody having to be home with a possible family. Like, look at Mickie James, she has a kid. And look at Tamina, she has 2. Bianca Belair has 3. Somebody has to be home with the kids, it seems. At least that's what it kind of feels like to me in a certain way. Like, I look at it as typically, and this is like a dumb way to look at it sometimes, like you look at a relationship between a man and a woman when they get married. The man is always the one with the job and going to get the money to pay the bills and get the groceries and all that, while the woman stays home with the kid. That's what it kind of feels like, and I don't want to see that happen in WWE or in wrestling in general. I want to see women wrestle for as long as they can. I want to see men wrestle for as long as they can. And when it comes to like a kid being in the family, that kind of throws everything out of whack, because it's like, oh, well, now somebody has to take care of this kid. And if it's got to be somebody, it's probably going to fall on the women's shoulders. Partly because of the fact that, and this shouldn't be the situation either, that the women make a lot less more than the men. Like, I looked at the money recently, and I don't know how accurate these articles are that certain people put out. The highest paid woman was, I think, Becky Lynch at like $200,000. Might have been Charlotte at $300,000. Compared to, like, you hear all the time, like, Roman Reigns made $1 million this year. Seth Rollins made $1 million. Brock Lesnar made $50 million this year. Or $5 million, I think, actually. I think I added a 0. Well, you see these men make so much money compared to the women, and it's like, why can't it just be equal? Why can't it just be even? And this is why, like, I do like that WWE kind of changed their policy and they want couples to stay together, which is why Andrade went back to SmackDown, which is why Aleister Black went to SmackDown instead of Raw, which is why the Viking Raiders are on Raw. And there's another one too, the Usos and Naomi. That's the one I was thinking of. So you have all these couples staying together, which is nice to see because, yeah, it's important outside of the ring too for them to be together. And also in a work environment, it's nice to see people just enjoying time with their friends and loved ones, which is amazing to see always. But it always feels to me like the women are just not as valued, not as paid attention to. I enjoy women's wrestling. I've enjoyed it for a long time. I want to see it succeed. I want to see it thrive, and I want to see it be a focal point of wrestling moving forward. Some companies get it right. Stardom, Shimmer, Impact's gotten it right. Progress has gotten it right. The women and NXT, both NXT and NXT UK, have gotten it right. If we see an eventual NXT Japan or NXT Asia, for lack of a better term, because I always go back to the map Hunter had. He had the logo over Japan, but it was like Japan was highlighted, China was highlighted. So maybe, I don't know. If we get an NXT Australia, if we get an NXT Mexico, Canada, whatever NXTs we get next, the women's division will be treated just as equal as the men's there. And it'll be a focal point, and they'll get interesting storylines and interesting things to do. Whereas on the main roster in WWE, possibly in All Elite Wrestling, in Ring of Honor, everywhere else you see it, and it's not represented nearly as well. I want it to be a focal point. I want it to be good. I want it to be a focus. How can WWE improve in 2020? Or even in the second half of 2019 and 2020 as a whole? Focus on the talent. Focus on women's wrestling. Women's wrestling needs help. Who better to be a focal leader for it than those within the WWE themselves? Us fans have been tweeting out, give women's wrestling a chance. From what I've seen, I think one wrestler has used the hashtag. I'm going to fact check this before I say it, because I want to be right. Let's look here. Give WWE women a chance. Hashtag. WWE woman. Search. There it is. That's the hashtag I was looking for. Like, I'm looking at it. I thought Sami Zayn had said something about it. But Sami did point it out, I believe. That he wants them to be a focus. And I would like to see it. You need to give WWE women a chance. Let them show just how good they are. Because they are talented, they are driven, they are ready. And I want to see them get a chance. I want to see them be a focal point. I want them to thrive going forward. Because they are great. They are just as good. And I know that they can be even better. They can push themselves. They can thrive. They can be on the same level as the men's division. They have been for a few years. And now it feels like it's gone back to square one. I want them to have a chance. I want them to be a focal point. Give them a chance. And it's the old saying. Give them the ball. Give the WWE women the ball. They'll make the play. And that's what they can do. And that's what they will do. They just need that chance. I think Paul Heyman can be one of those people who gives them that chance. From what I heard, the Natty and Becky Lynch segment was pretty good. I don't know about Bischoff because I don't know enough about the WCW women's division scene at the time. And I know the ECW one wasn't a focus because they didn't have a lot of women's wrestling back then, just in general. But now Heyman knows talent when he sees it, and he'll give a push to who he thinks deserves it. Same with Bischoff, excuse me. I think Bischoff can give them that push. And Bischoff will push them to be better. And he'll get them to that point. I'm hopeful, but somebody needs to speak up. Somebody backstage needs to say something. Whether it's Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Bayley, somebody needs to say something. If this is the reason Sasha Banks took her ball and went home, I don't blame her. At first, when I first did this, I blamed her for everything, for what she was doing. Well, not everything. I didn't think she was in the right. But now looking at it, I think she might have had a point. She might have had a very good point. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of it, but I do think the pieces are in place for it to be a focal point moving forward. And just let like a former women's wrestler be in on creative for the women's division. Or be in on the higher up squad for the WWE. And let them focus on the women's division. Not Dana Warrior, because she was around in the 80s and she doesn't understand the women's division nowadays. Maybe, like, the name that keeps coming to my head is Victoria. Maybe like her. Maybe Trish. Maybe Lita. Let one of them come in and run the division and see where it goes. It can be one of the biggest things in wrestling history. And the same could go for All Elite Wrestling's women's division. Same can go for Ring of Honor's women's division. Same could go for a possible New Japan women's division. It can help improve your product, and it can help make it better, and people will watch it. But you just have to give it a chance. But that is all the time I have for today. I actually kept this under an hour. That's the first. So, as always, like I say in the beginning, but I also say at the end, you can follow me on Twitter at CheerioSolider. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. You can follow All Things Combat on Twitter at Things Combat, which is the website I write for where we cover professional wrestling, boxing, and MMA. We have some live tweet events coming up. August 31st, I believe. Is it August 31st? The day that All Out and everything is happening at the same time. All Out, TakeOver, and Royal Quest. Yep, August 31st. We might have triple coverage. We will see. You can also follow the Cauldron, which is the newspaper, the school Cleveland State newspaper I write for, on Twitter at CSU Cauldron. I think I should know this one off the top of my head, and I don't, and I'm sad because I am bad at things. That is the wrong. This is what happens when I run multiple Twitters. I don't know what I click on when I click it, because I want to make sure I get this Twitter right. Yeah, at CSU Cauldron. So that will probably start up more and more once the semester gets started here in about a month. We'll see. We'll see how much else happens over the summer break here. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Ben Herzig. I've enjoyed getting this opportunity to rant for 15 minutes about women's wrestling. It feels like it was needed. And it's a big, weight lifted off my chest where I'm, saying that I enjoy women's wrestling and I want to see it succeed. I want it to be good. And it can be good. Just give it the damn ball. Let them show you that they're good. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Still don't know what's going to be covered. It's a little bit of a quiet period until SummerSlam in professional wrestling as it goes. G1's going on, but next week we'll be closer to the end, so we'll see. I'm excited for the G1, and I'm excited for SummerSlam coming up. It's going to be a big card. Maybe we'll start talking about it then. Who knows? All right, guys. See you next week. Thank you so much for listening. Feel free to hit subscribe. Always contact me on Twitter. Contact this podcast on Twitter. We're always interactive, and I always try to respond back as soon as possible. Again, thank you for listening, and see you next week.